And as you notice the rise and fall of your chest, an expansion and narrowing of the ribs with each breath, become more aware of the belly. Soften and settle into the belly, resting your awareness around the navel, down towards the pubic bone, around to the sides of your waist, and up towards the bottoms of the ribs, feeling this whole area soften. And the more relaxed your belly is, the more the breath can settle into a deeper rhythm. So just notice the natural movement of the belly as you breathe. Feel how it gently rises with the inhale. And feel how the belly softens and settles again with your exhale. Try to stay conscious of the movements of the breath within your body for a few more cycles. Resting your awareness with its rhythm as it slows down, becomes a little steadier. Being present with the depth of the inhale flowing in. And letting each exhale be a reminder to soften more, feeling your body's weight settle. Now, as you keep a connection here with your breath and with your body, start to slowly reawaken your body. Move through the fingers, wiggle through the toes, circle the wrists, circle the ankles. And then once you feel ready to move, feel free to open the eyes as you go for a big stretch, a morning stretch with the arms back to the wall behind you and the legs long to the wall in front. Letting out a sigh or a yawn as you like. And let's just begin with a bit of movement in the arms. So feel free to have your knees bent or straight, whatever feels good right now for you in your back and in your hips. And then let's begin with the palms together above the head. Finding a little bit of length here into the sides. So find the inhale here. And as you exhale, let's bring the hands down through center, down towards the navel. As you breathe in, let's sweep the arms wide and stretch them back again. And feel the exhale as the hands come down through center. Moving the arms to the rhythm of your breath, being conscious of both your breath and the movement that's going on here through your arms. And see if you can keep your ribs resting into the body. So notice if the ribs want to flare up away from the floor as your arms move, especially when they reach back. And see if you can keep the ribs resting in and down. That's it. Letting the neck stay long and loose. And then we can reverse the direction when you're ready. On the inhale, bring the palms back together. And with the exhale, sweep the arms out wide and down. And always looking to find your own range of motion that feels good here in the arms. So if bringing the arms quite close to the floor just doesn't feel good in those shoulders, keep the arms as high as you need to maintain some comfort there with this movement. Good, let's go for one more. And then just release and rest the arms. Let's go ahead and bend the knees into the chest. So while we've got hold of the knees, any way you like, your knees can go apart or stay together. Do what feels nice in your hips today. It gives you a little bit of space as you rock. Rocking side to side, just across the low back from one hip over to the other hip. Noticing a bit of a massage. You're bringing yourself into that low back space. Good. And then let's start to circle the knees with the breath, moving the knees together. As you inhale, let them move away from you. And as you exhale, bring the knees in towards you. So now we're rolling around the edges of the sacrum, finding a little more of a massage into that low back and back pelvis area. And then find the circles in the opposite direction. And as you're moving here through the legs, the hips, try to see if you can keep nice and relaxed through the shoulders. Neck long, head heavy. All right, and come on back to center. So let's bring the feet to the floor. So the knees are bent, feet on the ground, and we'll take the hands to the belly and find a few pelvic tilts here with the breath. So positioning your arms in a way that feels relaxed through the shoulders, heavy and soft through the head and neck. And as you breathe in, let's shift the weight down towards the tailbone, rolling forward. On the inhale, belly expands. And as you exhale, gently draw up and in through the belly, flattening your lower back as just the tip of the tailbone curls up. So feel the inhale, rocking the pelvis forward down to the tailbone. Let the length of your exhale roll the pelvis back, lower back flattening towards the floor. So it's this nice rolling point of contact from the back of the waist down towards the tailbone with the inhale, and from the tailbone back to the low back on the exhale. See if you can smooth out the movement, exploring those end ranges, noticing a bit of a pause after each breath. Pausing both the breath and your movements before you change direction. Nice. Noticing the shifts of weight coming into the back of the head. Just allowing this movement to ripple up through the rest of your spine for a couple more breaths. Feeling that movement up. Noticing how far up the spine you can feel that sort of cause and effect action of the pelvis rocking and the spine moving. And then find where you can be centered with your pelvis, where you're neither tipped all the way down to the tailbone with a big arch in the low back, nor are you completely flat and pressing the low back into the floor. So somewhere in between those two, and you might be able to take your fingers and slide just a couple fingers an inch or two underneath you, and that's what you're looking for to feel your spine stay in this pretty neutral shape. That small arch in the low back, you're resting into the back of the pelvis, the sacrum. And let's keep resting into that left foot while we bring the right knee in, and we'll stretch up through this right leg. And just a bit of a check-in with that leg. Let's bend the knee and then push again up through the heel. As we bend the knee, you can point the toes. As you stretch through the leg, you can spread the toes back towards you. So finding some movement here into the knee joint, ankle joint, toes. And then let's keep some length through the leg, up, comfortable length. Your knee can be as bent as you need it to be. We're going to point the toes And as you reach the leg long, let's lower it down towards the floor, trying your best not to let the low back arch. Just before the leg lands, or just as low as it will go before your back arches, bring your knee in and push up again through that heel. So nice, slow, exaggerated bicycle movement. I like these movements just to awaken a little bit through the core. It's a nice gentle awakening for the muscles in the belly and back to keep that stability around the core. Waist stays still, ribs stay still, resting into the body. While we're finding these movements, loosening into the hip, the knee, the ankle, the toes, with the breath. Finding a rhythm that works for you, slowing your movements down or speeding it up, whatever lets you stay mindful of what you're doing. Good. And then let's stretch up through that right leg. And while we've got the right leg up, let's circle. Circle into the ankle a few times, getting some movement this way into the joint. And then in the opposite direction too, and just check in with your upper body. Can your shoulders relax? Can your head get heavier? Loose and relax through the jaw. Good, and then give that leg a little shake. Shake it up in the air, nice and loose. And then relax. Rest that foot back to the floor. Do a little wiggle of the pelvis, maybe even a few pelvic tilts again. Or maybe you just pause and find your breath. So finding and feeling where your pelvis can sit in that neutral position, nice and balanced and even. Weight somewhere in the middle of the sacrum rather than down to the tailbone or back into the back of the waist. And then having found that, let's keep the right foot on the floor and then stretch up through the left leg, just checking in with this leg, noticing, do you feel much of a stretch there behind the knee? And then we'll point the toes and bend that knee, pulling the heel in a bit towards the glute. And then we can stretch up through the heel, spreading the toes as we stretch through the leg. So just looking to feel some movement into your knee primarily. Of course, a little bit now into the ankle and toes. Minimizing the movement for now in the hip, so keeping this angle in the hip as best you can while we bend and stretch through the knee. Just checking in with this. Stretch through the back of the leg. Okay, and then next time you stretch through the leg up, go to a comfortable stretch. Knee can be as bent as you need to. Relax into the shoulders again. Let's check in there. Feel the ribs settling into the body. Point the toes. Feel like someone's pulling on that leg as you're lowering it down towards the floor, just as low as you can go before you notice your back wanting to arch. Then bring your knee in again and stretch through that heel. And then pointing as you lower. So when we stretch through the heel, we're getting more length coming into the back of the leg. And when we point the toes and lower the leg, we can envision a little more space coming into the front of that hip and the whole front of that leg. So we're getting some stretch into those fascial lines through both the back and the front of the legs. All the while finding some mobility and movement through the joints of the hip and the knee, and this ankle and toes. Nice, slow, steady movements with your own breath's rhythm. Try to find a rhythm where your movement and your breath can be sort of a similar tempo. Nice. Next time we stretch through this left leg, let's keep it up. And we'll circle into the ankle. So if your knee doesn't want to be straight now, you can always just keep the knee bent and do these same circles with the ankle. So really making it your own practice and going in the other direction as well with those circles and maybe slowing them down a bit. This is a really familiar movement that we tend to sort of glance over in our mind when we're doing them. So see if you can really bring your awareness into that ankle as you move it. Good, and then give the leg a shake. Loose through the ankle, loose through the knee, little shake, shake, shake in the air. Whew, and let it go. Ah, really nice. Okay, so let's hug the right knee in. Let's stretch the left leg down along the floor. So with this right leg hugged in, let's just check in with this nice deep fold in the right hip. And notice if you're holding on to any tension, if there's a grip or discomfort there. Try to breathe down into it, maybe easing the knee away from you. And on the exhale, maybe there's space to draw the knee in a little closer. Trying your best to prevent the shoulders from getting involved. Okay, and then releasing both arms out to the sides. If you've got a big pillow or a stack of pillows or a blanket you can roll up, you can have it beside your left leg. So maybe I'll get that. So with both arms resting out on the ground, both shoulders resting, let's circle into this hip and feel and find the movement into the hip joint. And if you notice a lot of clicks and catches in your hip today, you can pull your heel in closer to the glute. Imagine you're moving through a little more resistance, create a little more tension around that hip joint by actually engaging and squeezing a little, clenching a little through the glute muscles, pulling the heel in towards the knee. So you find a little tension, a little resistance along with the movement. That's it. And then we can go in the other direction. And again, if a large movement doesn't feel good, take it smaller. Feeling your breath as you're feeling these movements in the hip. All right. And then you can keep the foot off the floor. If that doesn't feel good, you can rest your foot on the ground for the next thing we're going to do. What we're going to do is come in and out of the twist, keeping both shoulders on the floor. So let's let that right knee move out to the right, and then bring the leg across, knee over, and try to lift your right hip coming into a twist without lifting the right shoulder. And then back onto your back, knee out with the inhale. Exhale, the knee comes across, and you can even turn your head in the opposite direction as you come into the twist. So moving like this, in and out of the twist a few times from the bottom of the spine up. So we're letting our pelvis twist in one direction while the shoulders stay rested. Just feeling those actions through your body here. Nice. And then the next time we roll over onto the left hip, let's come all the way onto the left side. And this is where you might also want a pillow under your head. So we're setting up with the right knee on a bolster in front of you, or even just the foot on the floor. Knee will hang a little bit off the ground if you don't have the bolster. We'll stretch out both arms. So let's go ahead and find some movement now through the upper body. We're going to reach back with this right arm. Turn and open to the right, out to the side, sweeping the arm down to roll again onto that left side. So can you let the head stay relaxed and heavy while you're moving in and out of the twist? Now from the from the top of the spine towards the middle, lower back. You're rolling from your left shoulder over towards the right shoulder as you come into that twist, noticing how it feels. All right, next time you feel like you want to pause into that twist, let's go for it. Shifting, you might need to shift your shoulders a little to the left in order to bring this right shoulder a little closer to the ground. And you can relax and rest your head over to the right slightly. And feel free to reach across with your left hand and massage into the side of your hip. Whew, noticing how you feel in and around that outer hip and glute. You can run the hand along the side of your thigh down towards your knee. I like to knead and massage, just gently press my fingertips into any tight spots around those areas, lovingly, gently massaging into them. And let's keep the bottom leg long away from the head. So reach out through the heel towards the front of your mat and try to imagine the crown of your head, the top of your head reaching still back, even with the head resting a little to the right. So you still feel the length in your whole body here. Notice the space into the right side. Breathing into that space. For the last couple breaths, if you want to stretch through your right leg, you're welcome to find as much length as you like from the knee out through the calf. And if you spread your toes back towards you, you'll likely feel that stretch intensify through the calf. If it's too much though, bend the knee more. There you go. Be here with another breath. Lovely. Bend that knee again. Take your time to come onto the back. Unwinding out of that twist can feel a little stiff. So do what you need to do to find comfort again in the center. Okay. So if you've got your bolster, pillows, or folded blanket, bring it to your right side so it's ready for you. I think I'll just keep the blanket under my head for now. Let's hug the left knee in, stretch the right leg along the floor. And we'll pause here, feeling your right leg long along the ground as you're stretching through your pulling gently with your left knee in, letting the inhale soften any tension and grip through that hip. Letting the exhale bring the stretch in, maybe a tiny bit further. So the sensation may be all in that left hip crease for you, or it might be into the front of the right hip, the leg that's stretched straight. You might notice some stretch coming into there. So notice where you feel it. All right, and as we rest both arms again out, palms up, shoulders resting, pull that left heel in towards the glute, and now draw those shapes, circles, whatever it happens to be with your left knee in order to find the movement into the hip. So sometimes when we do these circles, we tend to want to lead with our foot, which is more moving at the knee, which is fine in and of itself. But for this purpose, we're trying to find more movement into the hip joint, where that thigh bone sits into the pelvis, that big ball and socket joint that has quite a large range of motion. So find your comfortable range in this direction. And then in the other direction. How does this hip feel compared to the other one? I don't like to label sides good and bad, so I'm really, encouraging you to get away from that language as well. We each have a side that cooperates a little better than the other. How's that? And then let yourself find the twist with the left knee moving out to the left. Then bringing the leg across until your left hip might lift, but you're trying not to lift that left shoulder. So coming back, opening the knee out and rolling towards the right hip, coming into the twist. So you can let your head feel nice and relaxed and letting it turn a little to the left as your knee goes in the opposite direction. So feeling the whole body get involved in this movement with the breath. Nice. Let's go for one more. So the next time you roll over towards your right hip, we can come all the way over onto that right side. Head supported if you want. Left knee resting on some support as well if you like, at about hip height. So keep the bottom leg stretched long. Feel your hips stay stacked, starting with your shoulders and hands stacked in front of you. Let's stretch the left arm back. And now opening out to the left, turning your upper body in that direction and going on to that right side to repeat the movement. Nice slow circles, loosening into this shoulder. And feeling the motion through the back, through the spine. Pause at any time you like in this circle. So if you're noticing a good stretch for yourself, just let yourself be there in that stretch if you find it beneficial to hold before you continue on. All right, and then whenever you feel ready to land into the twist on this side, take your time to find the ground through your upper back. So I'm going to shift my shoulders a little to the right in order to bring that left shoulder just a little closer to the floor, feeling more supported so that my left arm can actually relax now. Softening through the elbow, softening any tension in the fingers and hand. How does this side feel through your back, through your hip? Bringing that right hand across. If you can comfortably reach, feel free to massage a little there into the outer leg, from the hip down towards the knee. And keep coming back to sense where the breath moves. Feel the depth of the inhale moving in. And stay with the length of the exhale, flowing out. As your bottom leg stays long away from the head towards the front of the room, front of the mat, stretch here through your left leg. If you want more length to come into that leg, you find where the knee can stretch a little further. Doesn't have to go perfectly straight though. And then lengthen through the heel. So rather than pushing the back of the knee, see if you can keep a little softness in the knee and stretch the heel further away. And notice how that action brings more of the sensation down the lower leg, into the calf, and maybe even into the sole of the foot itself. Really nice. Let your exhale bend the knee. Take your time once again to unwind back onto the back. All right. So setting aside your bolster and even setting aside your pillow that you might still have under your head. So ideally the head is resting on the ground, the same level as the rest of the spine. So let's bring the arms in close beside us. Bring the feet, walk the feet in so the heels are underneath your knees. And let's just rock a little bit forward up onto the toes, back to the heels, lifting the toes. And as you continue that motion through the ankles, you can notice how when you rock forward and back from toes to heels, not a whole lot of the center of your foot makes contact with the ground. Ideally, you're drawing up through the arches of the feet away from the floor and feeling the points of connection through the heels and through the mounds of your feet, big toes across to the baby toes. So let's land into that tripod of support under each foot. Finding as much equal weight through the pad of the big toe, wide to the pad of the baby toe, and down through the center of each heel. And as you find that support in the legs, feel your feet just very gently pressing down into the floor and pulling a little bit back, heels back towards the bum without actually moving them. Just notice how that slight action, pressing down and pulling back a little, starts to engage through the legs already. So with that, start to press more down, standing more of your weight into your feet, and feel the hips just floating up with as little work as possible, in your upper body. So the legs are what lift your hips, not by pushing so much the ribs up, or not even by pushing through the hips. You're pressing down through your feet. And that action of pressing down through your feet and pulling back through your heels lifts the hips nice and light. And then pause there with as little work as possible through your upper body, so the arms can just relax down by your sides. And you can just notice the length in the neck here, away from the shoulders. Feel the tailbone moving towards the knees. And the breath steady and calm into the front of the body. So lifting only to a height where you can manage to stay with that calm, steady breath. And stay with that strength and support down through the feet, back into the legs, into the glutes. Noticing this for another breath. Good. Let your next exhale roll your spine down nice and slowly. From the top of the spine, try to come down through one vertebra at a time, touching each to the floor from top to bottom as best you can. Very nice. Rest your arms out. And, let's actually just hug the knees in. Rock a little there, side to side. So why don't we come over onto our side now, whichever side you like. You can make a pillow with your bottom arm and just take a couple breaths there. We're going to transition, I think, onto our hands and knees. So use your hands to press yourself up. Feel free to have the blanket as a little extra padding or a pillow underneath your knees. I've got my mats doubled up, so I think I'm good. So let's start out feeling the support of our hands right underneath our shoulders. Knees pretty much below the hips, toes pointing back. So you're on the tops of your feet, getting a nice stretch into the fronts of the ankles. So check in with your shoulders, see if they can move a little further down the back away from the ears. And let's just begin by moving through the whole spine. So we'll start to hug up and in through the belly and feel the tailbone curling towards the knees. As you press down through the hands, get a nice stretch coming in between the shoulders as the head lowers. And then as you breathe in, start to lift the tailbone away from the knees, lengthening through the waist. The chest widens as the head lifts, moving as you breathe in a way that makes sense to you. Feel the ends of your spine lengthening away from one another, so the tailbone reaches away from the head as the head lengthens away from the tailbone throughout both of these movements through the spine. Okay, and then coming back to more of a neutral spine, we're going to explore a little movement through the shoulders. So let's begin by feeling, let's start to just keep the elbows straight and see if you're able to move the shoulder blades in towards each other. So your chest will lower a little bit. And then you're going to push through the hands and feel the shoulder blades spread apart, and your chest will end up lifting a little away from the floor. So Straight, keeping the arms straight as you bring the shoulder blades towards each other and away from each other. So the action is coming through the arms and shoulders, the shoulder blades, rather than through the spine. So notice any tendency to kind of want to lead the movement with your head or with your spine. Your spine will end up moving a little bit, but it's the action of your shoulder blades coming in that lowers the chest, and the action of the shoulder blades spreading apart that lifts the chest. And the arms stay straight and strong the whole time. Just noticing the range of motion you have in your shoulder blades in each direction. How close can they get? How far away can they comfortably get? That's it. And then see if you can find sort of a happy medium space where they're neither pushed further as spread apart as possible, nor are they squeezed in towards each other. Somewhere in between those two. And let's try to now slide the shoulder blades forward towards the ears. And then move the shoulder blades down the back away from the ears. Shoulder blades forward towards the ears. Down, back, away from the ears. So again, it's the arms and shoulders that are initiating this movement, not the head and neck. So notice if you're wanting to kind of move the whole upper body or kind of move through the neck, and see if you can keep the spine still and find the movement of the shoulders towards the ears and away from the ears. All right, now before our wrists get too fatigued, let's try to bring all those movements together in circles. So what you're going to do is start by bringing the shoulders towards the ears. Then push into the floor, spread the shoulder blades apart, lower them down away from the ears, and then bring them together. Forward towards the ears and apart, shoulder blades down and together. Moving the shoulders forward towards the ears and apart, moving them away from the ears and towards each other. So you end up doing shoulder circles in this tabletop position. Can you find those shoulder circles in the opposite direction? And one way might feel a lot easier than the other way. So now we're going with the shoulder blades coming towards the ears, together, down away from the ears and apart. And you can just let it become a fluid movement rather than 4 separate movements. That's it. All right. All right, let's release the wrists, coming off of your wrists back towards child's pose. Circle the wrists a few times there in each direction. You might even try to bring the backs of the hands together. You can keep the hands as fists, or you can have the palms open. Hands as fists is likely going to feel more of an intense stretch. So if you find that too intense, just have the palms open. And it's a nice way to counter pose the wrists here. Good. Okay, let's bring ourselves back up onto hands and knees. And we'll bring the hands a little forward of the shoulders, curl the toes under, and find a bit of a rocking table pose here. So with your spine staying in a pretty neutral position where your tailbone still points back rather than up or down, and the head stays in line with the shoulders, long through the neck, lots of space between your ears and shoulders here. And really, as you're bringing your hips back, push forward and down through your palms, keeping the support through the arms, even when your hips go a little back. That's it. So we're getting a sense of the movements that are happening in your shoulders and hips primarily, a little through the knees and wrists as well. So keeping the toes curled under, that's it. We'll go back with the hips, just slightly behind the knees. Really, my shoulders are just a little bit off behind my wrists. And I'm pushing down through the hands so that I can start to get lighter on the knees, keeping them bent as they lift. Let the head rest between the arms. So with this nice bent knee downward dog, we're able to find a little more length through the whole spine. So let that length translate all the way down through the neck. Maybe a gentle nod of the head, no, and yes, to help release and lengthen the neck between the arms. Head is nice and heavy, moving towards the hands. And let the tailbone now find a little more lift up and back while you slowly start to stretch down and back through your heels. Knees can continue to stay bent. Heels do not have to come all the way to the floor. Do what you can do with length remaining through the low back and through the neck, with breath staying steady. Really nice. Feel another inhale and feel the exhale. All right, let's walk our feet either walk our feet either forward to our hands or hands back to our feet. I like to do a combination of both. And then release the upper body over the support of the legs. So bend the knees a little more. Let the belly come a bit closer to those thighs. Dangle the arms, free up the head and the neck again. And now feeling the support of the legs, your upper body can be loose and relaxed over that support. Upper body like a waterfall. Legs like a strong cliffside, rooted, supporting. Feel this with the breath. As you exhale, can your head get a little heavier? Can you bring your chin closer to the chest, just letting some length travel down the back of the neck, into the base of the skull. Now, while we keep the head heavy, while we just let the arms dangle freely, push down through the feet. That's it. Press down through the feet. Even pull the feet a little bit away from each other. Find that support all the way up the legs, even into the glutes. With that little bend in the knees staying, start to hug up and in through the belly. And we're going to roll up slowly. So as the tailbone draws down, you end up finding a little bit of length slowly through the belly, long through the waist, open through the chest, and the head comes up last. Finding our feet. It's nice to rock a little bit from toes back to heels. When you come up onto your toes, maybe pause there if you can. You can always use support nearby to hold on to. So see if you can stay rooted into all 10 of your toes. So notice if the weight shifts off of, your baby toes or off your big toes, if the weight wants to roll in or out on your feet, and see if you can stay wide and equal from big toe to baby toe. That's it. Finding that, slowly lower the heels back to the ground. And now see if you can feel the weight even from toes back to heels. So not all of the weight's forward into the toes, not all of the weight's back into the heels. Most of us tend to lean a little forward when we stand. So most of us tend to shift more weight forward into the toes. So you might just see what it feels like to bring a little more weight back towards those heels. So your hips will land more directly above your feet rather than forward of them. And your head as well is balanced as best it can be above your shoulders. All right. Bring the palms here together in front of the heart. Let's find a little movement through the shoulders. Let's interlace the fingers together. And as you inhale, let's just simply push forward through the palms and then lift the arms up as high as is comfortable in your shoulders and in your neck. That's it. Push up through the heels of the hands, spread back and down through the thumbs and the fingers towards the head. That's it. And then release the arms out wide and then bring the hands behind your back and try to clasp hold as close to your elbows as you can manage. So forearms, wrists, elbows, it doesn't really matter where you're holding. What matters is you're feeling the backs of the shoulder blades coming in closer together, and the elbows reaching back away from your body. So that way you might find a little more space into the front of the chest. Let's just feel the breath there. Reaching down and back through the elbows, feeling the shoulder blades against the back without pushing the ribs forward. Can you feel this for another breath? Good. So just take note of which arm you have on top. So which arm is resting on top, which arm is on the bottom, okay? So just remember the one that's on the top. And we'll try to do the opposite way next time. So interlace the fingers together in front of you again and try to interlace this way, the opposite way that you usually do. So we just do it without thinking. That's usually the way we always do. So try to interlace with the other hand on top. And then we'll push forward. Notice how that feels as you spread your thumbs and fingers back towards you. Good stretch there into the hands, all the way into the forearms as we lift the arms, finding more space and length here through the sides of the waist, sides of the ribs. Head feels light as it lifts up towards the hands. Nice. Good. Release the arms wide. Reach the arms back behind you, clasping the opposite way. So now the other arm is on top as we hold on to wrists, forearms, elbows. If this feels like a struggle, just don't push it. Go where your shoulders are happy, where your breath can remain pretty calm and steady here, where you're not fighting with your body. Instead, you're just enjoying a little bit of space through the front. Letting the breath into that space as you encourage your elbows down and back, firming the shoulder blades against the back without creating too much tension there in the neck and jaw. Taking another deep breath into the front, letting it out nice and slowly. All right, releasing the arms. Give them a little shake. Whoo, yeah, good for those shoulders. Okay, let's actually bring the feet a little wider apart. And maybe not quite that wide, more like shoulder width apart. And might soften the knees a little bit, bring the hands on the hips. Let's just do a few hip circles. Go over to one side, back, over to the other side and forward. So you might find that it's a little more comfortable to have the knees bend as you do this. And just get a sense of the range that feels good for you in each hip. No, pushing your hips out to the side, just as far as it feels good in each side. So I'm noticing that I can't quite push out to my right as easily, I feel like. So just noticing that for yourself. You can let your upper body be a sort of counter to your hips. Your upper body goes in the opposite direction of your hips. So even letting your hips come forward, as long as it feels good in your low back, keeping the belly sort of broad and lifted. That's it. And then we can try it in the opposite direction when you're ready. Going in the other direction. Maybe some of you were out gardening a little bit this weekend. It's been quite nice to have that as a refuge if you're as lucky to have a yard. There's always container gardening. All right, let's go for one more. Okay, coming back to center. Let's bring the feet nice and wide, a little wider now. So let's turn the right foot to face the right, and the left foot can turn in a little bit so we can find a warrior two stance. So let's go ahead and start with the front knee bent. And keeping as much support even through both legs. So the back foot is supporting you just as much as your front foot. Back leg is straight, front knee is bent, spine in the center nice and tall. So let's start out with a bit of movement in the arms as we breathe. While we move the arms, we're gonna straighten and bend the front leg. So as you breathe in, turn your palms up, stretch the arms overhead, straightening that front leg. As you exhale, let's open the arms wide again and bend that front knee. Finding the inhale as we reach tall, straightening the leg. Exhale, bend the front knee. Feel and keep the support still in your back leg. So as you continue that motion with each breath, notice if you have the tendency to lean the weight off of your back leg when you bend the front knee, and you might try to push down through that left foot a little more, staying nice and strong through the left leg while we bend and straighten the other. Let's pause with the front knee bent in this wide open warrior shape. And let's inhale and let the left hand come down that left leg, stretch up through the right side. Let's find just a little bit of space through this right side. Let the breath flow into that space. Nice and easy. No need to strive or reach any further. Just noticing and feeling the space you feel and the support you feel in your legs. Good. Let's take the right hand into this hip crease on the right side. So we're going to start to slowly straighten that front leg as we deepen the fold through this right hip. So we're finding and feeling the support still in this left foot, strongly pressing into the legs. A little bit of support still remains through the belly. We can rest this right hand above or below the knee while the left arm stretches out. So let's pause with this space, feeling the support down through your left foot, getting a sense of the length even through the neck, long in the opposite direction beyond that right foot. That's it. And the chest and the belly are open to the side while we feel each breath here. Looking up or looking forward or looking down. Do what feels good in your neck for one last breath. Nice. Let's bend the front knee again, coming up through warrior two, gazing beyond that right hand. Release the arms, give them a little swing, and we'll take it to the other side. So the left knee can be bent and the right knee can be straight. Sometimes nice to just find where your feet land. Rocking the weight from toes to heels again, getting a sense of the support evenly from toes to heels, inner outer edges of the feet. Let's start with the front knee bent, arms wide. We'll again start to move. Inhale, straighten that front leg, stretch long through the sides of the waist. Can you keep all that length? As we bend the knee, take the arms wide again. Breathing in, so the spine doesn't move at all. It stays right up tall through the center, even as we bend that front knee. So noticing if you're moving off center at all, and see if you can feel the center of your body. Stay pretty still while just the limbs move. Yeah. Tailbone stays heavy towards the ground between the knees or between the feet, and the head stays light. Last one, we'll keep that front knee bent. That's it. Feel the support in your back foot just as much as your front foot. And let's turn the left palm up, lower the right hand down lightly on that back leg. So most of the support here is in the legs and a little through the core. So you want to keep a sense of heaviness through the tailbone. Pubic bone is light. Lots of space in the left side of the body for the breath. Be there with it. Really nice. Let's bring the left thumb and forefinger into that hip joint, hip crease. While we straighten the front leg, let's deepen this hip crease, moving the upper body a little to the left. You might notice some stretch coming into that inner thigh. Strong in the back leg still, long through the waist. We can rest the hand where it lands on that leg. And the right arm just floats up like it's full of helium, just floating up. So we're not reaching too much. We're letting some tension relax there through that shoulder and even through the hand itself. Finding the space for the breath into the front, the belly, the chest. As you press more weight down into your right foot, feel the spine stretching away from it beyond the left foot. Breath filling the center of the body. All right, start to slowly bend the knee. Reach back, open into warrior two. Lower the arms, give them a little shake, swing. And let's come back, walking the feet in to center. And come back towards the front of your mat. And just notice for a moment how you feel in mountain pose. Get a sense of both feet supporting you down into the ground. As the pubic bone is light, moving towards the navel, feel the head also light, lifting above the shoulders. As you breathe in, let's lift the arms. And with the exhale, take a moment and find chair pose. Send the hips back and down, but keep a lift through the front of the body. So you're not lifting the tailbone higher, trying to keep it heavy down and back to the heels for another breath here. Really nice. On your next exhale, let's bring the hands down through center. Come forward over the legs. Release the head and the arms. Stretch through the legs to where it's comfortable for you. Feel another breath there. Then bend the knees enough to bring the hands to the floor. We're going to step back into plank position. You can have plank on the knees behind your hips, or you can have the legs straight. So whatever you decide, see if you can just feel how your belly might want to sink down like this and push down more through the hands and really lift the belly. Yes. Feel the pubic bone moving in and up towards the navel. Feel the ribs pulling in towards the spine for another breath. Now, as you bend your elbows, let's lower all the way down to the ground. While we're here, see if you can turn your head to the left and bring the right temple to the floor. And take your arms down along your sides, palms up. So this allows for a gentle stretch to come into the neck. And see if you can let go of the full weight of your head. And feel the release of your shoulders down towards the floor. And just letting the front of your body meet the ground. Noticing the breath's movements into your back. And then let's bring the head to center, forehead on the floor. Bring your hands into the ground beside your chest. And just like we did when we were in table pose, can you roll your shoulders in circles? Rolling them down towards the floor so the shoulder blades move apart a little bit. Rolling them towards your ears and then in towards each other and down the back. So try to go in that direction where your shoulders come down and then towards the ears, back and away from the ears. Noticing how much movement you can feel in your shoulders. And then the next time you roll your shoulders down and back, press back into your feet. Press down a little bit into the hands in order to lift yourself into a cobra. Just a very baby cobra, so don't worry about pushing too much weight into the hands, and instead find and feel the work coming into the back between the shoulder blades, maybe a little below those shoulder blades as well. Feel another breath there. Strong pressing down into those baby toes a little more if you can. You got it. And then relax and rest your head to the other side. So now you can bring your left temple to the floor or left cheek. Arms down by your sides, or make a pillow with your hands for your head. When we're here, we can let the full weight of the head rest into that left side. Noticing a gentle stretch in the neck. Come to sense the breath moving into the back lungs. Each exhale, feel the front of your body softening, resting down into the floor. Good. Bring your head back to center. Forehead to the floor, hands to the ground beside your chest. And once again, do a few of those rolls, those shoulder circles. Down towards the floor, up towards the ears, away from the floor, and down away from the ears. Nice circles. And notice how the action of your shoulders when they move down and back can lift your chest and head into cobra. So let's this time hover the hands slightly off the ground. Try to hug your elbows in and back while the chest is wide to the front of the room for another breath there. Really nice. Take the hands to the floor now. Let's push back into a child's pose. So knees can go as wide apart as you wish. Hands can stay forward, or they can be back by your shins, or make a pillow for your head. So noticing how your back feels as you give it a stretch now. Letting the breath fill the whole back body. And as you exhale, feel the weight of your head settling and the weight of the hips resting. Good, and then bring the hands beside or in front of your knees, and then you can press down. And let's shift the legs to stretch out in front. Give the legs a little shake as you roll them in and out here a few times. And then we're going to come onto the back, hug both knees in again, and with both knees in, let's end with a reclined twist. We can lower the knees over to the left, letting that right arm rest out onto the floor. I'm just encouraging the upper back to stay settled into the ground, resting your head a little to the right as the knees settle to the left. You can rest that left hand onto the top leg if you want. Just a way to check in here with your back and with your breath. And then slowly bring your head and your knees back up through center. And with your left arm relaxed out to the side, guide your knees over to the right. Letting the knees land on the floor around hip height, maybe a little lower or higher depending on how you're feeling in your low back. And relaxing the head a little to the left. A nice way to once again check in with the hips, with the back, with the shoulders and chest. Noticing the movements of the breath here. All right, slowly bring your head and knees back to center and just take a few moments to end your practice in Shavasana again in stillness and comfort. So you can use your pillows or bolster underneath the legs, supporting a gentle curve into the lower back. You can have the blanket over you or under your head as a bit of a pillow. Taking your time to once again find comfort in the body. Finding a comfortable alignment for yourself to relax and rest into. Arms relaxed in a way that feels soft through the shoulders and out into the hands and fingers. Feeling the length of your legs soften from your hips down through your thighs. Calves relaxed. Ankles and feet relaxed, just allowing them to flop and land wherever they naturally do. And feel the weight of your head settling back in the center. As you close your eyes, soften any facial tension. As you let go of any of that facial tension and expression, feel the eyelids relax. The corners of your eyes release. Feel your eyes settling, resting deeper into their sockets. And the bridge of your nose softens, letting the skin of your forehead smooth, widening out to your temples. And relax the jaw. Feel your lower jaw soften away from the upper jaw. Feeling your cheeks relax. And as you keep a connection here with your whole body and the sensations that come and go, feel the movements of your breath, coming and going easily and effortlessly within. So as you let yourself remain relaxed and still, So once again, become aware of your whole body resting here. Start to gradually deepen the breath to help reawaken yourself. Roll the head gently side to side. Move the fingers and toes again. Circle the wrists and ankles. And whenever you feel ready to enjoy another stretch, feel free to find that before you bend the knees again. Resting on your side for a couple of breaths. Coming up into any comfortable seated position you like. Take a moment to acknowledge your practice today. Bowing down to your practice. Namaste.